Hey guys, and welcome to another series of videos by Geeked on Managerial Accounting. Today I'm going to be talking about chapter number 8, which is measuring and assigning costs to support departments. Now what this chapter really is about is like when you have a business that has multiple departments, and those departments can be classified into your support departments and your operating departments. Support departments are really there to sustain and support essentially the actual operations of the business. So you may have a bookshop where you sell books, right? So a support department would be like administration that helps you keep track of your like accounting. Maybe accounting is part of admin, right? So that is a support department. It helps sustain the transactions and keep a record of the business. So it helps sustain business activity. On the other hand, an operating department for a bookshop would be something like books, selling books to your customers. That is your main activity, right? So books would be an operating department, and that is your primary business from where you earn profit. All right. So what this chapter is about, it's really about transferring the support department costs to your operating department costs. Why? Because you want to make decisions on the final figures, right? Support departments are not really relevant to your final profits, right? So you want to transfer those costs to a more relevant department, sum up the costs, and then make decisions based on those figures. As always, I'm going to start a question and then we're going to learn all the concepts and techniques along the way. So let's get started. So over here we have a question. The following is the cost information for Alan's music shop. And then you have support departments, janitorial and admin, and operating departments, CDs, and other media. And you have direct costs of salaries and supplies. The numbers are given respectively for each department. And then you have something called an allocation base, which I'm going to explain in a bit. You have square meters and employees for each department again. The shop also incurred $24,000 in renovation costs in addition to the directly traceable costs. So what this question is saying is that there is an additional 24,000 in costs that haven't been allocated to the departments yet. And the first part is asking you to allocate using the most appropriate base. That is a very important concept to grasp, guys, in this chapter. All right. So what does that really mean? Most appropriate base. We're going to get to that. So here is my Excel file for this question, and I've simply copied the information over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to allocate my renovation costs to all of the departments. So that's 24,000. Okay then. So what does it mean to have an appropriate base, an appropriate allocation base? So the cost that you're trying to allocate, it should be relevant to the type. So your allocation base should be relevant to the type of cost you're trying to allocate. All right. So in this scenario, we have renovation costs, right? So renovation costs, what is renovation? What is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of renovation? Well, you think of like fixing up your place, right? And the key word here is place. So in this scenario, renovation, is it relevant to square meters? Like the area that you're occupying? Maybe. Is it relevant to employees? Like renovation costs, is it directly related to employees? Does it have anything to do with your employees? Not really, I'd say, right? Not really. Then square meters is the way to go because renovation costs is related to the space that you occupy, and square meters are like a measure of the place that you occupy. So in order for me to allocate this 24,000, I'm going to use the square meter numbers that are given to me. And let me show you how that's done. So for janitorial, I'm going to take the relevant 50 for janitorial divided by 250, which is the total space that I occupy. So I'm going to take my 24,000, I'm going to lock that number in because it's going to be used in all my calculations, multiply by bracket my 50, which is for janitorial, divided by my 250, which is the total space that I occupy. And I want to lock the total again because that's going to be used in all of my calculations. So put a $sign before and after the letter and I'll put that number in. So what is the advantage of me to locking the numbers in? I locked this number in and I locked this number in. Why? Because they're going to be used in all four departments, right? 24,000 is going to be allocated to all four departments and my total of 250 is going to go in all four departments. So I simply locked the number in. I'm going to place my cursor on this box right here. I'm going to drag it across and there you go. Excel does it for me. So let's take one, CDs, right? It took 24,000, multiplied by brackets, 120 divided by 250. It gave me the answer that I wanted. Like, it saved me like 30 seconds. So you can always do this. I'm gonna post more Excel videos where you can learn great tips, but now is not the time for that. Let's move on to the second part. So the second part is asking us allocate the support department costs using the direct method. And this is where the actual chapter begins, the first technique that you have to use. So first off, in order for me to allocate all of my direct costs, I have to sum up my direct costs, right? So first off, I found this over here. I'm going to highlight that. Okay, so I'm going to copy all my department names right over here. And now I'm going to total up my direct costs. So first off, my direct costs are my salaries and supplies. They've already been allocated for me, right? So I'm simply going to copy them. Oops. I have to copy all of them. Yeah, there you go. And then you want to copy your traced costs too. These are the ones that you trace to the departments yourself. So you want to copy this. And remember, guys, since these numbers have a formula in them, you want to tell Excel that you know they have a formula, and then you want to go into paste special and simply click on values. If you click on formulas, Excel is going to mess it up for a variety of reasons, which I'm not going to discuss right now. But just for now, remember that when you're doing numbers, when you need just the numbers, you click on values and you press OK. So Excel is going to show you just the numbers. All right, and then you total up your direct costs, which are equal to sum, and then you just take all of these, again, drag it across, and there you have all your direct costs. Now this will be used for the first part of the question, which is the direct method. So first off, I can take any one. I have to allocate these two support department costs to my operating departments. So these two, I'm going to highlight them in a different color. The blue figures, the two blue ones, are going to go into the yellow ones. They're going to get allocated into these two departments. So I can take any one of the or any one of the support departments first. I'm going to take janitorial, and I'm going to write out the name of the operating department, CDs and other media. Just a note on the side. So what the direct method really is that it does not really take into account, it does not really acknowledge that support departments use each other. So janitorial and admin probably use each other, right? They need each other to actually sustain the business. But the direct method assumes that the support departments do not use each other. That's a good note that you can write in your exam if you're asked about direct method, like theoretically. Okay then, so janitorial is equal to your direct cost of total of 29,800. How am I going to allocate this to my CDs and to the other media department? So janitorial, again, since you're allocating, think of what allocation base you're going to use. Always think before you allocate. So janitorial, what is janitorial? Janitorial services are cleaning services, right? So your employees are essentially cleaning up your facilities and you're paying them to do that. So is your janitorial department relevant to employees? Maybe, yeah, since employees do work as janitors. Is it relevant to square meters? More likely so, because your employees are cleaning up your business, right? And they're cleaning up the entire facility that you are using, really. So in order for me to allocate this cost to my CDs and other media departments, I'm going to use square meters. All right. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 29,800 and multiply it by CDs, which has 120. So bracket 120 divided by 250? Question mark. Is it going to be 250, the total? And the answer is nope, because these two departments are getting transferred here, right? So since these costs are leaving these departments, their square meters are not relevant. These costs are leaving for these two departments, and only their square meters are relevant here. So I'm going to divide 120 by 120 plus 30, which is 150. Okay, and that comes out to 23,840. I'm going to do the same thing for janitorial. I'm going to multiply it by 30, and then divide it by 150. And there you go. That is your answer for the first one, janitorial. You have allocated janitorial onto CDs and other media. That is your first answer. On to admin. So I'm going to do the same thing. Admin is equal to 49,800, right? And then I'm going to take my CDs department and then other media. I'm going to do the same thing, but admin is more relevant to employees, not square meters. So I'm going to use employees as my base. So equals to 49,800 multiplied by 2 divided by 3, because that is the total of the two departments that we're allocating to. Again, do the same thing. Multiply by 1 divided by 3. And there we go. That is your answer for the allocation of these departments using the direct method. Alright guys, so that is it for the direct method. Now I'm gonna total up what I've calculated here. So janitorial and admin are the only two departments that I have left, right? So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my direct costs, which were over here. These are my direct costs for, oops, wrong departments, my bad. Your departments left over are CDs and other media. So I'm going to take the total cost that we calculated here, our direct cost, plus the cost that we allocated from over here. So I'm going to sum up these two together, or just add them. CDs over here allocated to CDs and over here allocated to CDs. That is the total. And I'm going to do the same thing for other media. So my direct costs were this, and the allocated costs are this, 5960 plus 16600. I'm going to write these out. So direct costs and allocated costs. And then when I total these up together, that should give me my total cost for the departments over the year. So sum these two up, and I'm just going to drag it. That is your answer, final answer that you need for this part of the question. All right, so I'm going to solve parts 2, 3, and 4 in the next video, so stay tuned and don't go away.